Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Also welcome to the listening public. This session is being broadcast live. I believe it's also being carried in Tobago as well, on Channel 5. This is the second public hearing of the Joint Select Committee on Local Authorities, Service Commissions, and the Statutory Authorities, including the THA. To the committee's inquiry, this is further into the committee's inquiry since certain aspects of administration of Tobago House of Assembly. The focus of today's meeting is the state of Tobago's tourism sector and the inter-island transportation. This hearing follows the hearing that was convened at the Financial Complex in Scarborough, Tobago on Wednesday, April 27th. The committee will meet with officials of the THA first, followed by the representative of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association at about 11:30 a.m. This meeting, as I said before, is being broadcast live on Parliament Channel and 105.5 FM. The informed audience, the audience could also be informed that they can send comments via email at pal101@ttparliament.org or our Facebook page at facebook.com/ttparliament or on Twitter at ttparliament. My name is Ian Roach, and the other members of the committee will introduce themselves. Start on my right.
Ramona Ramdial, member.
Daniel Solomon, Senator, member.
Nigel Freitas, member.
Welcome all, Darrell Smith, member.
Thank you very much. I will now ask members of the THA to introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Sandy.
Ray Sandy, Chief Administrator, Tobago House of Assembly.
Samuel Henry, Mr. Transportation Coordinator, Tobago House of Assembly.
Wendell Berkeley, Chairman of the Tobago Heritage Festival Committee.
Gwen Tuppin, Management Accountant, Division of Tourism and Transportation.
Sherilyn Solomon, Administrator, Tourism and Transportation.
Federica Brooks Adams, Director of Tourism, Division of Tourism and Transportation.
Wenigai Hernandez, Administrator, Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities.
Glenda Rose Lane, Coordinator for Culture, Tobago House of Assembly.
Henry Cook, Assistant Deputy General Manager, Operations, Tobago.
Good morning, Deoki Ramnarayan, Senior Research Officer, Division of Tourism and Transportation.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to remind the listening public as well as those present that the main objective of this inquiry today is with tourism and transportation. In terms of the tourism aspect of it, we are to determine the current condition of the sector, to assess the THA's strategy for attracting domestic, regional, and international visitors, to determine the status of initiative projects aimed at improving Tobago's marketability as a tourist destination, transportation, to assess the current state of the inter-island transportation services. Submissions will receive, I would like to acknowledge submissions received by the THA on June 2nd at 4:26 p.m. Now, I must comment on the tardiness of this. You all were written to on the, you were written on May 9th, all right? And you were requested to have this submission before us by the 23rd of May. We received this yesterday. I mean, this is really, really unacceptable because it doesn't give us sufficient time to peruse this with the, in a way that we would have preferred to have done so. So this is not a good commencement. So I am representing the other members' views that this cannot be a pattern to be followed in the future. Okay? We also received submissions from the Caribbean Airlines Limited, CAL, the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, the Public Transport Service Corporation, the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association, and the Tobago Chamber of Commerce. I will ask Mr. Ray Sandy, Chief Administrator, to make an opening statement.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Joint Select Committee. First, I wish to offer my sincerest apology to you, Mr. Chairman, and to the members of the Joint Select Committee for not submitting the responses to the list of questions asked in the time frame given by the Joint Select Committee. I want to assure you, sir, that no disrespect was meant or intended, but we were challenged to retrieve some of the information needed to properly respond to some of the questions asked. I can assure you, sir, that this will not be repeated, and we accept the opening statement that you made, sir, and we accept it with full responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
It was rather brief, eh? Okay. Yeah. Before we go directly to the focus of today's inquiry, Ms. Ramdiel has a question or has some concerns she would like to raise with you following from the meeting and representations were made by yourself at the last session. Okay, so Ms. Ramdiel.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Sandy. Mr. Sandy, on the 27th of the 4th, 2016, when we had our first meeting with the THA in Tobago, I referred to the Hansard of this Joint Select Committee, and I just want to, I need your clarification and probably possible apology if necessary, if you see it fit. Now, from that Hansard, I ask you a question about the Auditor General's report and why it is that there have been no Auditor General's report for the THA accounts from 2007 to present time. You responded by saying that you cannot explain why there is no Auditor General's report. However, the Tobago House of Assembly has submitted its financial statements up to the year 2013 to the Auditor General, and it is up to the Auditor General to find the staff to do the audits. The last audit, which we defended at the Public Accounts Committee, would have been the year 2007. So the Auditor General has the financial statements of the THA up to 2013. 2014 will be available in 2 weeks' time, and 2015 in about 6 weeks' time. So we are very current as far as our submissions to the Auditor General. Mr. Sandy, as of yesterday, info coming out of the Auditor General's office is what actually exists. And it, of course, is in clear contradiction to your statements on the 27th. 1, 2012 statements were submitted by the THA, but then recalled to make adjustments, and to date have not been resubmitted. Therefore, this is hampering the 2012 report from being done by the Auditor General's office. 2, you claim that the 2013 statements were submitted. However, these are not official statements since signed copies are necessary, and what was submitted were photocopies. Therefore, again, the Auditor General's office cannot proceed till these official signed copies have been sent. The 2014 statements you said would be ready in 2 weeks. As of yesterday, these statements again have not been sent, and we have 2014 statements, but again, it's in the photocopied version and not the official signed statements. Can you clarify, please?
Yes, I'll attempt to clarify. I am not aware of the situation with respect to the 2012 financial statements, and I'll certainly will have to get back to my office and get the information for you. As far as I know, as far as it was told to me that that financial statement has been submitted. 2013, I understand there was some error or something in there, and it was sent back to the THA, and that is being worked on. 2014, as of yesterday, I was told that that statement should come to the Auditor General by next week, and 2015, about a week after that. I was told that they were awaiting some information to complete the 2015, but they have the information, and in 2 weeks' time, As I said, next week, 2014 should be submitted to the Auditor General, and 2015 within a week or so after that. As at yesterday, when I checked today, I'm the Office of the Director of Finance at the THA.
And these statements would be the signed official statements, not photocopies?
Actually, they told me that the 2013 statements are waiting my signature. Okay. That's what I was told yesterday.
All right.
Because normally I would have to sign them off before they send them on to the Auditor General.
And for the 2012 statements, you would look into that to
yes,
see
I'll
that
look
it's
into
been
that.
resubmitted?
And if by chance I gave wrong information to the Joint Select Committee and to the Parliament, then I sincerely apologize, but that's the information that I had.
Thank you.
Again, welcome to you all. I know last time we were on your shores, and we appreciate the effort that it takes to you all to make the trip, because we went through it for the first time last time. So thank you for coming. In terms of tourism, your submission stated that most of the 110 million spent on tourism during the fiscal year 2015-2016 was allocated to goods and services and current transfer and subsidies. I want to find out what was the DOT's main expenditure items under current transfer and subsidiaries during the current fiscal year.
Good morning. I'd like to ask the management accountant to respond to that question, please.
Could you just repeat the question for me? Thank you.
Yeah. What was the DOT's main expenditure item under current transfer and subsidies during the current fiscal year?
During the current fiscal year, our allocations under current transfer and subsidy is being spent on 1, Airlift. 2, we'll also be spending money on other areas such as financial assistance. We also do subventions to the THTI, that is the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Institute. All right, so mostly that is what our funds will be spent on for fiscal 2015. And of course, we also spend on tourism festivals. We have the Jazz Festival, we have the Dragon Boat Festival, and all those other festivals that we normally have in the tourism division.
Mr. Sandy, I don't know if you would be the appropriate person to answer this, but following from the representation made by the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association, there were some things that jumped out at me. One is which is that, remember on the last occasion we were speaking about the rating of the hotels, the stars, and you were saying there was a reluctance, or the hotels themselves were rating themselves. What I understood, if this representation is true, and I would like to put it to you for your comment, is that they said that the tour operators themselves are the ones who inspect and rate the hotels, and that compliance by the hotel with international standards is verified only by the tour operators during their inspection. They seem to be, I mean, why is it not being done according to the THA's dictates?
The chair will ask the Director of Tourism to respond.
First of all, is the statement true?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, based on the information we have, there is no international standards to rate the hotels. And as to whether the statement is true or not, we'll also still have to look into the whole information. But from the information I have, there's no actual international standards to rate the hotels.
But isn't it, that's kind of odd coming from you all at this stage. I mean, Tobago is about tourism. And one of the foundation of tourism, you want to believe, is hotels, right? Hotel is one of the main attractions, right? And hotels internationally are rated. Okay? Is there an organization that rates these things? Is it done locally? Is it an international body that you have to sign up with, or you have to sign some sort of an agreement with? Why would this information not be readily available in your possession?
Mr. Chairman, in all fairness to the division, I would have to get more information to give you on that, because we'd have to review, as we have been doing, as to why this is as it is. But I would prefer to have further conversations on it as to what really could be done in a quick time to ensure that we all on the same page.
Yeah, but you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes,
we don't consider this to be very important. To me, this is something, I mean, you start off with that. You have certain type of hotels. You spoke about going into luxury, attracting high-end tourists. And to attract high-end tourists, you have to have a certain quality type of hotels, 5-star and what you may, right? Or what you may have. But to say at this point in time, you don't know. I mean, that is not good. It has me lost for words.
Mr. Chairman, we hear you. We really going to work on getting a better response for such a situation, but I would prefer to have further conversations on it so that we could get back to you on where we're going with it. But I hear your concerns. It's very important because the industry is very important, and everyone who has stakeholders also need to know that we are on the right page. So I hear your point, and I'm going to do all that I can do from where I sit as the administrator to ensure that we get what we had to do done.
Okay, we hold it to that, yeah?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
That's a bit frightening, to say the least. You're involved on Tobago is a tourist island. We hope to promote tourism. How is it that, what is your tourism policy in relation to the quality of the hotels that you provide? How it is that you market if you don't know what the quality is? I mean, what is the benchmark, the international standard used? You spend, you say you spend $151,635,123 on island promotion. Can you say where this is going?
On and offshore marketing efforts in road shows, marketing efforts in the destination, training, career fairs, awareness, engaging in new marketing initiatives and present marketing initiatives, basically.
Are you satisfied that you've got the promotion of the island on an international stage to a satisfactory level where it compares to other Caribbean tourist destinations?
We can say that based on the monies that we work with, we know that things can increase, but what is needed is an increase in financial resources for the DOTT. This is necessary to have sustained marketing, increased airlift support, and enhancement in the island's product. For example, if we will look at competitive budgets at a glance, in 2013, Barbados spent $94.4 million on tourism marketing. St. Lucia in 2009, $50 million. CTO's figure, I'm talking US dollars, yes? CTO's 2009-2010 figure was $1.390 million. I'm saying that to say that if we want to see the greater efforts of marketing destination Tobago, we would be serious about what we are putting out in the marketplace for what we receive. In this way, we would be able to say, yes, we are satisfied because we will have every system in place that is necessary so to do.
Wow. Mr. De Freitas.
Good morning, members. The question that I want to ask is in relation to the airport. Given that this is the first point of contact for international arrivals, I'm wondering when was the last time that the House of Assembly engaged in conversation in regards to the renovation of the airport?
Thank you, Honorable Member. It's a very important question and a good one at that. The Tobago House of Assembly is acutely aware of the condition of the ANR International Airport. And as a result of that, the Tobago House of Assembly has been having ongoing talks, leading that we hope would lead to the improvement of the international airport. Many airlines that fly into the airport, especially Virgin, they have been complaining bitterly about the condition of the airport. As a matter of fact, that was one of the reasons why in the first place that Virgin departed or pulled out of the destination because of the condition of the airport. We are a little bit heartened to see that the Airports Authority is trying to do something. For example, trying to put in a VIP lounge so that we can afford to cater for that segment of customers. But to answer your question directly, we are in conversation with the Airports Authority, and we hope that now that we have a member on the board of the Airport Authority, that the THA voice would be heard and would be attended to, or concerns would be attended to.
Following from that, is it the reason why there is no direct flights to Tobago at this point in time? Is that a reason why?
No, there are direct flights to Tobago.
There are?
There are direct flights.
International direct flights?
International direct flights.
Okay.
We have international direct flights from Germany, from the UK, and from New York.
Okay, great, thanks.
I know you all host a number of good events with regards to sport. The Great Race. I know last year I think you all had a Legends tournament. I know you all have the Goat and Crab Race, and recently you had the beach football, CTC Marathon, and so on. Do you all have a comprehensive plan with regards to sports tourism? I know the Ministry of Sport here has been liaising with the team there as well, but do you all have a comprehensive plan that you're going to be pushing forward in recent times with regards to sports tourism?
The THA, the Division of Tourism and Transportation, has a sports tourism committee because we recognize, of course, the importance of sports tourism. To that end, we have had a lot of activities on the island related to that. You mentioned some of them. We have the Dragon Boat Festival that attracts a lot of visitors. We also have the Cycling Classic that takes place in October. It brings in a lot of visitors from the UK and other sporting activities on the island. So there is a policy to do some more work, and we have the committee in place that is looking after that.
In terms of the heat map that you all have, how is that working? And again, for the clarification or the information of the public, will explain what the heat map is about.
The heat map is essentially a document that was collaboratively developed between the THA stakeholders and Caribbean Airlines. What it actually does is to identify the areas of peak demand on the domestic Airbridge so that it can inform Caribbean Airlines so that they in turn can provide adequate supply to meet those peak periods. That is essentially what the heat map does. How effective is it is another question, because I have been tracking it over time, and I realize that even when the heat map demands certain amount of seats on the Airbridge, that Caribbean Airlines sometimes fall below that. So what we actually need is not only the heat map, but adherence to the dictates of the heat map.
So what was part of the strategy when you developed the heat map, where there's glitches in it? I mean, what is the means of remedying it? Wasn't something worked out that, you know, we'll do it by, there's a communication link where it can be quickly call into question, and the persons that's ready to deal with resolving it be brought on board, and some sort of quick execution is done to remedy it? It's just
well, I think it's just a matter of implementation. I think what Caribbean Airlines has to do is to look at it, is to deploy resources as demanded. I mean, it is not possible to have airplanes just lying around and waiting for when you have peak demand. We know that. But if during this peak, and they try, I must say that they try, that they can have 1 and 2 extra jet services so that they can mop up in a very timely manner the excess demands on the airport to ease the frustration of the traveling public. What again we could add is that Caribbean Airlines has about 5 ATRs, and those ATRs were really supposed to be for the Airbridge. And these planes are being used for scheduled regional services. As a result of that, the sort of a redundancy that's supposed to be existing on the Airbridge is hardly ever present. So if, for example, you have 2 planes working on the Airbridge, and for some reason there is a breakdown of 1 airplane, then we have real problems, especially on peak periods like weekends and public holidays.
But isn't that CAL's response to that is that the Airbridge is not profitable for them, per se, and therefore they need to seek alternative markets in order to compensate for the shortfall in the service being provided with Tobago. Well, additionally, hold on, yeah, sorry, just bear me with this. You just said that, coming from there, that planes cannot be idle, left idle on the ground. I do agree with you. But the peak periods in Tobago, between Tobago and Trinidad, that domestic Airbridge, by now must be known to all. So if it is known to all, adequate provisions must be made for those times. It's not something I mean, once in a while you may have an emergency. This is not they talk about emergency. These are planned periods that we ought to know from time immemorial now. So why would this be an excuse?
So, Chairman, I like where you're going. I think that we have to look carefully about the whole institutional arrangement with CAL vis-a-vis the Airbridge. I think for the Airbridge to be fixed, and these are my thoughts, that one, we have to look at it and see it as an essential service. We might say it's essential, but that comes from the top of our head. I think the government has to declare the service essential and treat it as such. I also believe that the Airbridge should be delinked from all the operations of CAL. The Airbridge is subsidized, but where is the subsidy going? Is it going to the Airbridge, or is it going to subsidize CAL operations? With the delinking of the Airbridge, we can tell for sure that our subsidies are directed towards the Airbridge and nowhere else. And until we tackle these fundamental issues, we would always have problems with CAL and the Airbridge. We have to really tackle it head on and do something about it.
Well, I like what you were saying to the THA. The THA has articulated that to the government or to CAL directly?
We are in the process, when I say we in the THA, the division, is in the process now of preparing a document that would be sent to Carl, and that would be through the THA. Would be at the division. We prepare the document. The document would be sent to the Executive Council for its approval, and this would be, if it's approved, it would be transferred to Carl, and of course to the central government as recommendations, so that they can take on board to solve this problem once and for all. We may not have all the answers, but the conversation has to start.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ramdial.
Thank you very much. With respect to the hosting of the Tobago Jazz Experience over the past 5 years, from what the information you have given us here, the actual expenditure over the past 5 years have been $65,244,493.59. The revenue generated over the past 5 years has been $17,116,961.50, with a shortfall of $48,127,532.09. Do you think that it is feasible to continue with this event in light of the statistics that we are given with here? In terms of the shortfall, and the expenditure far exceeds the revenue at all times?
Mr. Chairman and members, we have to look at the jazz in a sort of a, I don't want to use the word holistic, but for want of a better word, holistic way. When the jazz, and I'm talking about the Tobago Jazz Experience, which is different from the Jazz Festival. The Jazz Festival used to be run by Clico some time ago, which came to an end around 2009, thereabout. And thereafter, the Tobago House of Assembly started the Tobago Jazz Experience. One of the difference between that is the Jazz Festival used to be held at Plymouth, if you remember that. The Tobago Jazz Experience is an island-wide from involving different communities. When you look at the return from the Jazz Festival, it is not right to look at direct expenditure, direct revenue, because there are a lot of indirect benefits. For example, when you travel to Speyside, where the Jazz Festival is held, or Castara, you can see 20, 30 vendors plying their trade and benefiting from the Jazz Festival. The taxi drivers benefit from the Jazz Festival. The communities benefit from the Jazz Festival. What we are looking there at is the direct expenditure versus direct income. That's income from ticket sales, as well as sponsorship, and probably some concessionaires. But the income or the benefit of the jazz goes way beyond the direct income.
Mr. Samuel, just an observation. Your designation here is Transportation Coordinator, but you seem to be very versed in other areas of the Tobago House of Assembly. I mean, I'm really impressed with that, but I mean, it makes me wonder, the other members here, are they not directly responsible for some of the questions being raised? And certainly we would like to hear some of them. Not I'm saying I'm not interested in what you are saying. It is very helpful, but I'm impressed with your grasp of your holistic knowledge of the THA's affairs. But we have people who are designated and in certain portfolios, and they are just silent so far. Probably they may have a lot to say later on, I don't know, but I'm actually waiting to hear from them as well.
But Brother Chair, can I make a small response to that, Brother Chair? Yeah. In defense of Mr. Henry here, no, I know, but in defense of him, the Director of Tourism only recently took up a position in the Tobago House of Assembly. So Mr. Henry, who has worked in the tourism division for a number of years, has more historical and institutional knowledge than perhaps the director might have at this time. The director only very recently, in the last few months, took up that position. So is the administrator. The administrator is relatively new to the division. So it's in that context that Mr. Henry is offering to explain some of these situations.
Thank you for the clarification.
Let me just ask one more question also with respect to what I mentioned before. The figures, they speak for themselves. And yes, while I understand what Mr. Henry is trying to say, when you look at the economics of this venture and the revenue generated, is there any sort of future plans moving forward to look to increase the revenue from the Tobago Jazz experience and not have this large shortfall of 48 million over the past 5 years? And when you look at the individual years, you're seeing that the shortfalls keep increasing. So this is really food for thought and a concern. We can't be expending so much money and having little returns and then say, well, you know, the benefits are otherwise to indigenous, to communities and vendors and all of that. We need to also look at the economics of the situation. So are there any plans moving forward to have these revenues increased in the future?
Absolutely, there are plans to narrow the gap between revenue and expenditure. But there's a sort of a catch-22 situation. If you notice, like in 2014, when we had John Legend on Ireland for the Jazz, revenues were greater than in previous years. So, but what happened? It cost a lot to bring people like John Legend to the island. So, if you decide, look, I really want to bridge the gap between revenue and expenditure, and you look for less expensive performers, then you have a situation where less people would attend the jazz festival. And that same gap that you are trying to reduce may increase. Now, on the other hand, if you decide to bring to the island, for want of a better word, more recognized performers, they cost more. So we have to start thinking now whether the marginal cost of bringing these more expensive performers would be compensated by the marginal revenue received from the additional patronization of the jazz event.
Just one more question, but wouldn't that be a marketing issue? I mean, it doesn't matter the cost of the artist coming. If it is that you want to generate high revenues, you look at the marketing strategy in terms of attracting more people to the Tobago Jazz experience. So that is also something that can be looked at with respect to your marketing strategies at the end of the day.
Agreed. It's an all-round effort that is needed. We agree.
Through you, Chair. Just briefly on the Airbridge, this problem with the Trinidad and Tobago Airbridge with Caribbean Airlines has been going on forever. And there are simple fixes that can be done. For instance, people on standby could be communicated by text, whether their flights are delayed. These simple mechanisms can be implemented without a massive, address by central government. But I do think that it's high time that we get a timeline on when we're going to solve these problems from you guys and from Caribbean Airlines, and that we get some sort of feedback as a committee so we can support you with your ideas and with the processes from our end of Parliament. That's just by way of comment. I want to go back to the relationship in relation to the region, how Tobago compares to the region, and I want to ask you, what was your room occupancy for 2015, and how does that compare to the region?
The senior research officer would be referred to answer that question.
Sure.
Okay, our room occupancy for last year, average for hotels, 40%. Between 35 and 40%. We disaggregate hotels and guest houses. Usually the hotels are a little more than the guest houses, depending on the season.
And how does that compare to regional room occupancy for the hotels and guest houses?
Well, regional occupancy is usually a little bit higher than ours.
I want to
60%.
Can you say how much was our average nightly rate?
Yes, I have that figure. Just give me a moment. Was that for 2015 as well?
2015, yeah.
Okay. The average rate for 2015 was $1,086 for hotels and $54 for guest houses. Sorry,
how does that
1086, that is in TT dollars, and that amounted to 167 US. And for guest houses, it was 344, and that's equivalent to 54 US.
And how does that compare to the region? Do you have the regional figures?
No, I don't have the regional figures.
All right. Well, if I may, the figures that we've been provided with is that Tobago achieved only a 34% occupancy, and that the nightly rate average was 154 US.
Okay, according to my figures.
If I may just.
Sorry.
And to do the comparison, regionally, the regional occupancy rate was 68.8%, as opposed to 299 US. So Tobago, you see, is lagging way behind. You follow me?
Yes.
Can you give an explanation as to why we're lagging so far behind?
If I may, thank you for the question. You see, we have to be very careful when we compare one with the other. And be careful that we are not comparing apples and oranges. Now, let's look at what is happening in Tobago and what is happening within the region. Tobago, as we stand, has no internationally recognizable brand hotel. We used to have the Hilton Hotel, which was closed some time, and it took us about almost 5 years to replace the Hilton with the Magdalena, which is a good hotel. But if you go to the States and say, or anywhere else, and Europe, and say, look, I'm marketing the Magdalena, they ask you, what is that? They cannot compare it with anything that they know about. We have no recognizable brand hotel. And the evidence has shown that a recognizable brand hotel in any destination helps international arrival. Look what happened in Grenada. Grenada was struggling. As soon as Sandals went into Grenada, the numbers start to speak. We have not, the only recognizable brand that we have in Tobago is Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, and where's the one by the gas station down there? Subway.
But Mr. Henry,
and they don't help.
If I may, who is responsible for that? Is that not the responsibility of the THA then to promote that?
And if I may as well, we also spent $151 million on marketing.
Mr. Solomon, sorry. Let me answer that question first, please.
The question is, Mr. Chairman? The question is?
I'm said it's not the responsibility of the THA to see about what you are just ventilating there?
Well, it's not only the THA, because I'll tell you something.
No, I'm saying, you're saying it's not only, but is it, do you see that a fundamental responsibility of the THA to rectify that?
I wouldn't even say that. That is a fundamental responsibility of the THA. Because why I say it's not a responsibility of the THA is that this involves foreign investment. And it would also involve us taking a look at the Tourism Development Act of 2000 so that we can align our incentives with those of the Caribbean.
Yes, yes.
When we look at the incentives that we offer for investment in the tourism sector, or foreign investment that is, and we look at what happens in other jurisdictions, we have to really look at so it's not right, it's not fair to compare what is happening here, what is happening in Tobago.
Mr. Sandy, the Comprehensive Economic Development Plan number 2, that's a very comprehensive document, isn't it? Yes. You need to put on your...
Yes, Speaker.
Yes? Yes? Okay. Now, it's over some 200 pages. It's two volumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And that's supposed to encompass a very large, broad review and policy-making document concerning ES, right? And something was done with the Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the THA. You familiar with the document?
To some extent, yes, I am familiar.
To some extent.
Yeah.
But it's not the document that's going to drive tourism and the whole development of of policy and so forth with the THA?
Yes, well, the THA is, if you want to call it, a blueprint for the year 2013 to 2017, the Comprehensive Economic Development Plan.
It covers what period?
2013 to 2017, the last iteration of it.
Yeah, but we're in 2016 right now.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm saying, so what aspect of that has been implemented or not?
I can't say percentage-wise how much of it has been implemented, but I know that an effort has been made to follow the plan. But of course, it depends on resources that are necessary to implement the plan and so on. But it's the plan is the ideal kind of situation. But I'm afraid that we have not met all of the goals of the plan, given the resource constraints and so on. But it is something that drives the operation of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Sorry, Mr. Solomon. Yeah, you want.
Sorry. You see, my concern is that we're spending $151 million on promotion, yet still we're hearing that we're below region, we're below par, we're below profits, we're below in terms of averages. And now I'm hearing that, if I'm to read you right, that it's not the THA's responsibility. And that sincerely is an area of deep concern for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not hearing any way that it's going to change. And I'm not hearing anything new or inventive. I'm hearing that we have to accept losses in millions for various festivals. And there's nothing being done to increase or to get value for money or to increase the promotion of Tobago. So whose responsibility is it, and where are we going? Where's the money been spent, and why are we not getting the returns for it? These are the questions that the nation needs to hear.
I just let me answer.
I don't know if probably it's my inability to make myself our positions as clear as possible. What I'm saying, the THA is responsible for tourism on the island, but there are certain things that are outside of the remit of the THA. For example, as I mentioned before, if the THA wants to attract investment on the island, new hotels, for example, the THA can hold conversation with hotel developers, foreign hotel developers, or even local hotel developers. However, if the act that provides the incentives for these hotel developers does not provide, or the incentives are not as attractive as those in competing destinations, it's obvious that the development funds would divert to those areas where incentives are more attractive and the returns would be more attractive. There are some destinations that would actually give away anything to get, because they look at the big picture. They say, if these investors come in and they build a hotel room, 300, 5-star, whatever hotel room on the island, they look at the long-term benefit. So they don't mind being very liberal with the incentives. All I'm saying is that those things do not reside within the ambit of the THA. So the central government would have to look at these things and make it more attractive so that we can receive the sort of investment funds that are necessary in order to give us the branding so that we can go out there and market as much as we are doing and get better returns for the same amount of money we're spending. Otherwise, we continue spending the same amount of money, or even more, for the same returns, because we do not have on island those things that would attract the tourists.
All right. Mr. Alwari.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize that I had another commitment prior to this. May I welcome everyone. Mr. Chairman, I'm a little concerned that the conversation is being skewed, and permit me to put a position forward and invite a response. As I see it, the THA, which acts under the THA legislation, has a fixed budget to do a certain scope of work, which includes some of the activities which we're speaking today. But I can't see it as the THA's sole responsibility to deal with the large enabling issues which the central government must deal with. An airport cannot be built to deal with lift capacity by the THA. Water on the island is not something to be dealt with solely by the THA. Electricity capacity, which is under capacity at present, cannot be dealt with by the THA. And the issue of the provision of services, i.e. labor to facilitate, cannot be dealt with by the THA, nor can the fiscal packages by way of incentives in consecutive finance bills year on year be the responsibility other than the Ministry of Finance, Trade and Investment. So the enabling environment, as I see it, has some role and responsibility shared between the THA and the central government. Now, what I'd like to ask is, we've had a discussion in relation to comparing outside of Tobago statistics, where we heard of room occupancies at 60-something%, where we heard of average rates at different points. But may I ask this question? What are the stumbling blocks by way of enabling inputs that the THA would require from central government to address the issues that affect the productivity and value for money growth in relation to tourism? Those are, to me, the real issues that will move us away from the THA's constant expenditure, if I could use this expression for those who've seen the movie, in a Groundhog Day sort of expenditure, where you do the same thing and wake up every morning with the same experience. But those are the things which are going to impact upon the THA's ability to achieve its mandate under law. Could I invite your reflections on those?
Danny, what is hand?
Thank you very much for your input, member. What is needed is a conversation. Let's sit together, central government and the THA. We understand, especially now, where we understand that a lot of focus has to be placed on tourism. We further understand that when you really look at it, Tobago is tourism. We recognize that. Let the THA and the central government come together. Let's come around the table and let's say we want to develop tourism in Tobago. What are those problems that you are facing? Let us discuss them. What do we have to do to facilitate the process? Let us sit down together and come up with those answers, the answers to those questions, in a serious and meaningful way. And let us take it from there. We are, at the THA, we understand the impediments we face. We understand the problems in the industry. You mentioned the airport. Look at the seaport. Look at the seaport. We are losing one of our largest cruise ships next season, because when TUI came into Tobago, there were two tires used as fenders to protect a vessel that is worth $1 billion. They almost turned back. They said they're not coming again. Let us get our act together, they're not coming again. Now every single visitor that comes off that cruise ship spends $74 on the island. That ship made 10 calls, 2,740 passengers per call. We're losing that. Why? The THA doesn't responsible for port infrastructure. The last time the THA had to spend $15 million to extend the pier, THA money, where that port authority should have spent, just to save the cruise industry. Let us sit down and come up with the answers, and let's move forward.
Yes.
In keeping with the sentiments of the honorable member, the Attorney General, I just wanted to indicate also that I've been seeing certain things popping up in regards to tourism in Tobago recently. One of them was either a report or a positive note whereby Tobago was indicated as one of the fastest growing tourism destinations in the Caribbean this year. And what I wanted to make sure was that given all of the initiatives that has been taking place from the House of Assembly in trying to boost the international tourist arrivals to Tobago, have we yet identified exactly what initiatives, whether it be festivals, whether it be sports tourism, that would have led to this commendation by the international body?
Can I respond partially, and then I'll ask the people from tourism to respond specifically? Madam Chair, the conversation has started in the sense that the Honorable Prime Minister now heads a national committee treating with the issue of tourism in Tobago. And we have not yet had a meeting because I'm a member of that committee. The Prime Minister chairs that committee, and it includes persons from the public and private sector. It's a fairly large committee, very wide-ranging and so on. And the conversation will be about tourism in Tobago, with the government recognizing the importance of tourism to Tobago and the importance of tourism to Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm just indicating here that a committee has been set in place. In fact, Cabinet approved it fairly recently, and I believe that the conversation will start soon.
You know, everybody been speaking about a conversation to start, but you have this document here, as I said, the Comprehensive Economic Development Plan 1 and Plan 2, and I would believe that some conversation must have taken place to inform this. And this some of the ideas, about 8 items here have been covered by this comprehensive plan. One of which is the branding Tobago, clean, green, safe, and serene, good governance and institutional reform, business development and entrepreneurship. All these things that so far, these 3 things that must have incorporated some of what you have been speaking here. Human capital development, improved infrastructure and utilities, social development and resilience, enhanced safety and security, and environmental sustainability. This must have been a significant amount of conversations taking place to inform this document. So is it, I mean, the conversation had to stop somewhere and implementation had to begin somewhere. So I am taken back by the level of conversation in invitations when we should be doing implementation. How you address that?
Well, I don't know if I have the answer to the question of how we address it, but that conversation I'm referring to, Brother Chair, has to do with implementation. In other words, we have our comprehensive economic development plan that was developed in Tobago by the Tobago House of Assembly as the blueprint for Tobago moving forward. The central government, in recognition of the importance of tourism in Trinidad and Tobago, has decided in its wisdom to start a discussion with the Tobago House of Assembly as to how that plan can be implemented in the broader context of national development. So when I say the conversation has started, that's the kind of conversation I'm talking about. Yeah.
Helpful, because we can't be just conversation stage. We must move on to implementation.
Brother Chair, at your wish, I have a response for the member Ramdiel with respect to the Auditor General reports.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Can I do it now?
Yes.
Okay. Using the technology, of course, my Director of Finance informed me that the revised 2012 and 2014 document is awaiting signature to be sent to the Auditor General. So it means that I have to sign off. The Director of Finance has signed off already. So in other words, by next week, those documents should go to the Auditor General. That's the 2012 and 2014 financial statements. The 2013 financial statement, they confirmed that that has been sent to the Auditor General a long time ago. And the 2015 is to be completed shortly. And when I say shortly, within the next week or 2 weeks, and that will be sent to the Auditor General also. So let me repeat, 2012 and 14, just awaiting signature to be sent to the Auditor General. 2013 has already been sent to the Auditor General. And 2015 will be sent to the Auditor General very shortly.
Just to respond, Mr. Sandy, I don't mean this back and forth with you, but at the end of the day, first of all, with respect to the 2013 accounts, are we to assume that the Auditor General's office gave me wrong information yesterday?
Well, the wording I have here from the text is that I can vouch that the 2013 documents have been sent to the Auditor General.
Signed, authentic copies, not photocopies, right?
I believe if that is...
According to the information
that's the protocol for sending them to the Auditor General.
And with respect to the signatures for the 2012 and the 2014, I mean, we need to be a little more proactive and efficient in getting these submissions in. Because we are one of the few oversight committees here at Parliament. And for you to make that statement at the first meeting and mislead us, you know, it's food for thought. We need to be a little more careful with our information and with our accurate information. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just add something to what Member Ramona Ramdi just said. I want to believe that when we invite participants to come before any of the joint select committees, certainly our committee, we expect them to be careful in preparing their material. I want to believe that it is not a deliberate effort to mislead us, because, I mean, you may be misleading the public, certainly is an embarrassment to yourselves as well. So I want to believe that it may be a bit of tardiness in not making sure, crossing your T's and dotting your I's. But in future, it's a good, probably a good warning, lesson, or whatever it is, caveat to move forward in coming again before us or any other review, oversight body may be coming to make your representations.
I take your advice, Brother Chair, but I'm told here that on November 14, 2014 was the date when the 2013 documents were sent to the Auditor General. November 14, 2014, the 2013 financial statements of the THA were sent to the Auditor General.
Okay, but we'll accept that. Mr. Solomon.
I was wondering what would be, you say, would be the most burning issue in terms of the hoteliers, and how do you support them with those problems that they may have?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Solomon, could you just repeat the question at just 1 second for me, please?
I asked you, what would you say is the most burning issue that the hoteliers of Tobago may have, and how do you help them with that problem?
In my opinion, the TTIC registration of properties in Tobago is one of the most burning issues, and by our stakeholder meetings and so on, we would give our input and get theirs as to where do we go forward with it. So that is, to me, from where I sit, one of the most burning issues. And
through the chair, could you explain that a little better, please? Just expand on it for us.
There is no internationally recognized brand in Tobago, nor is there a national regulatory system in the moment for industry regulations, save and except one quasi body that provides certification, the TTBS, through the TTIC program. Because of the fact that the arrangement calls for the engagement of the TTBS and the private sector for this certification, there seems to be an issue emanating somewhere between the TTBS and the hoteliers. We are awaiting advice because there is an audit fee requirement, which I have been made to understand is very costly. We are waiting advice as to how this audit fee is going to be covered and by whom. In the meantime, however, the THA has been trying to facilitate a process of some sort of a quality by providing advisory visits at no cost to the property owners.
Mr. DeFreitas.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that I didn't actually get an answer to my question. I think you went on to the Auditor General's report. And just to reiterate, given the report that came out that said that Tobago is one of the fastest growing tourism destinations for this year in the Caribbean, do we know what initiatives that would have been taken by the Department of Tourism and Transportation that would have led to that report, so that we can, increase those?
We believe that our marketing efforts, even though we have all the challenges, have somehow started to bear fruit, because for 2 consecutive weeks on CNN, our beaches were identified as some of the best beaches in the Caribbean, and also on CNN. Also about 2 to 3 weeks ago, our food, especially the blue food, was identified. So we think that even though we have all these challenges, we can feel comfortable that Tobago is still a destination that people would like to go to. And when we have all the challenges that confront the growth ironed out, we can look forward to a very positive outlook on the destination as a tourism preferred destination.
Okay, and I also want to go back to a statement made earlier in regards to not having a name brand hotel on the island. I do remember, I think it was a month or 2 ago, that there was a hotelier who showed some interest in Tobago. Now, I don't want to preempt that discussion because I don't know where it is, but I think for the general public and the nation at hand, at least you could indicate if it's positive or given what you all said before in regards to needing that name brand hotel on the island.
I just want to say that I know the chairman might not want to hear these words, but the discussion with that interested person continues.
Mr. Chairman, it's difficult as members of the executive, with knowledge that we have, to sometimes be a little restrained. But permit me to say, insofar as it's been opened, that the Office of the Prime Minister, which has taken direct responsibility for improving Tobago's situation, is in fact very busy at work with an international large brand entity, in respect of which publicity will be had soon. Secondly, the capacity for electricity in Tobago has been dealt with by way of approval by the Cabinet. Thirdly, the water solution is being dealt with. And fourthly, the airlift situation. These are the large impacting factors which have not been attended by successive governments for a very long while. So the difficulty in restraining oneself is sometimes a little hard, but insofar as that horse has bolted, I felt compelled to put some of that onto the record.
Certainly the public will be very appreciative of the efforts that are being made, certainly the Tobagoan population. But having said that, what impact is the land license issue impact upon the same thing, attracting these international brands to the country? Is that an issue that's
Mr. Chairman, that falls under my portfolio as
my
Attorney
God, you
General.
want to be on the other side then?
Yes, so that's a little odd. But I'm just declaring the position,
yes,
because that's something that the AG's office is working on right now, again, which has sat down for a very long time without solution, and which I would have the full details of. But we're near the cusp of that end. There's been a significant amount of work exercised. So I don't know if it's fair to put that question across there. I apologize.
Okay, so I got a submission where somebody termed Tobago as being a tired destination. Is that a fit description to give of the situation that is currently held by others in the community?
At the risk of getting the negative response from some of the operators on the island, I don't think the destination is tired. We might have some tired properties, we might have some tired persons, we might have some tired, but the destination itself is not tired.
Why they said, I'll put it in the context why they said it was, why the terminal has been tired, because they said there was a lack of attraction for direct foreign investment, hence being considered as being tired. A tired destination, so there's no...
Well, in the context of your definition, maybe I can agree with you. But I think Tobago really needs a fillip, an injection of
an impetus of some kind of new energy.
Yeah, new energy and so on.
Sure.
Yeah. But I don't think I think the destination is ready for that. Okay. Might have to add people.
Well, riding on that point, Chairman, I saw in your submission, late but was well done, page 9 when they spoke about the marina and marinas. And this is something that's coming off with regards to waking up and livening up the island. I too have gotten several requests from the boating industry under sport. And I see you all talk about establishing 2 locations and so on. You know exactly where and what kind of time frame that may be, again, and will you need definitely central government involvement in that, or is it something that you'll be doing on your own?
Thank you for the question. The whole idea of a marina in Tobago is very critical. We understand that because we have a situation where yachties visit the island and the whole thing is unregulated. And as a result, we don't know what they bring in. We don't know how they dispose their refuge. So it's definitely unregulated. Last year, around May, I think it was around the 6th of May, a proposal for a marina was sent to the central government. And that proposal was sent, I think it was by Tobago Plantations, to develop a 50-boat marina close to Lambo. And our information is that, and among other facilities, of course, and our information is that document was sent to the then cabinet for discussions and was referred to the Finance and General Purpose Committee of Parliament for further deliberations. As a matter of fact, my information further is that it was even recommended that the government should have a majority shareholder in that entity. After that, we have heard nothing about it. So we are hoping that with the new dispensation, that efforts would be made to develop a marina on the island because it is absolutely necessary.
Mr. Chairman, again, the embarrassment prevails. The cabinet has been. I know, but I just.
I think you better want to say.
Insofar as it's put this way, the Ministry of Trade is in fact in the course of dealing with the issue of not one but several marinas. I believe it's up to 4 in Tobago right now, but it's only insofar as imparting information that this opportunity now presents itself. So just to resonate a position, but also to plug a hole that has just been put forward. It isn't that nothing is done. You see, the difficulty in this situation is that the opportunity to perfect something requires policy, which is then approved and then operationalized. It's for that reason, for instance, that I would remind that the approval for the improvement road to Toko, which is already begun by the Ministry of Works, leading to the port from Toko to Tobago to deal with the service issue of employment on the island, is a significant benefit to the problems that the THA is facing. And that is, of course, something which central government has already approved. So these are articulating factors which impact upon some of the answers that are being given.
Okay. Thank you for that again, Mr. Alvari. I saw something on the last occasion, I think it was brought on by your submission, where there was a concern concerning the supply of local agriculture produce to Tobago's hotel, which was, quite astonishing. You said that the menu offered by hotels in Tobago do not require much local produce, so there is little demand on local farmers. Now, I found that a bit startling as well, given the fact that on the last occasion, I think it may have been Mrs. Adams, spoke about identifying some of the tourist attractions to Tobago. One of was cuisine. So if cuisine around culture and festivals are a big focus of the tourism drive in marketing eating, it is quite difficult to reconcile this being identified, articulated by you all, I think, on the last occasion, that the hotels, because of the menu, the cuisine that they offered, it doesn't require a great input from local farmers to local produce. This is where I got from you on the last occasion. Yes?
From the Division of Agriculture or the Division of Tourism?
Yes, from the Division of Agriculture, yes. Now, if that is in fact so, how is that being addressed? I mean, because I want to believe if you are coming to my country, one of the things you want to come, apart from, as you said, Tobago is being a uniquely marketed, not in sun, sand, and sea, but culture and cuisine, and that is and festivals. So this, to me, is something significant. If you're coming to stay in a hotel and you're not going to be getting the local cuisine, then how do you reconcile the drive with what is happening if it's in fact so?
Well, while we at tourism, recognize the linkage between tourism and agriculture, I think that the fact that is coming from agriculture, that agriculture would be the person who has to sit and decide how that should be addressed. I remember at the last submission from agriculture when they were in Tobago on the last occasion, they had mentioned the problem that they were having with reliability and quality. And I think the agricultural officer also spoke about the intention to establish cooperatives so that they could have producers cooperatives who would sort of a conglomerate the produce from agriculture and then feed the industry. But I think agriculture would have to be the one who would.
I see that a little bit more fundamental than that. If you're a hotel and you're presenting a cuisine, you are creating an ambience. You are creating the different activities and experiences to come to the country. Why would the Ministry of Agriculture or the Division of Agriculture be the person fundamentally concerned with that? To me, that would be more for the Division of Tourism to deal with engaging or encouraging local hoteliers to have a menu that reflects the culture, the creativity, the cuisine. I mean, that is something that Trinidad is known. Trinidad and Tobago is known for the variety of our cuisine experience.
Yeah. But the Chair, I visited quite a bit of the tourism outlets in Tobago and restaurants and so on, and I can vouch for the high degree of local content in the meals provided. So I am not in my anecdotal research suggests that information is not. I'm not in agreement with that information.
Well, that came from your Division of Agriculture while we were in Tobago on the last occasion. Eh?
Yes. As
I was reviewing the notes, yeah, and that's what jumped out at me.
As Mr. Henry indicated, perhaps it goes towards the issue of quality and so on. But the majority of the hoteliers in Tobago, the local content use is fairly high. In fact, we almost boast about it.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Solomon, you're going to wrap up now.
I would like your comments on a statement I'm going to read. Tobago has not inspected and registered as THA approved any of its accommodation providers for the past 4 years. Is that correct?
If I may, yes, the answer is yes to that question.
Why is that?
Director. That is because we are supposed to have a program, the TTEC program, as we keep going back to, and that has not been ironed out yet with the division and the Bureau of Standards, as far as I am aware. But we do have advisory visits where persons from the division go to properties and inspect. and give advice to the properties on measures that they should adopt in terms of improving the physical plant.
So that failure for the past 4 years, how does that reflect or impact on Tobago as a destination?
Well, of course, that will have a negative impact because we don't have a standardized plant in terms of the accommodation sector. But I do know that some of the properties, the larger properties, they try their best and they have the star rating, but they have a certain standard. They have tried to maintain a standard. And they also have the associations which work together to keep a certain standard.
So what is the THA doing about it?
Or the director.
As I said earlier, at present there are truly no TT registered properties on the island, and I explained also that it was due to the fact that the arrangement was one that calls for the engagement of the TTBS. After I mentioned the last time that there are no, and I'm going back to that word, regulatory framework as far as licensing of properties are concerned, I know now that the government, in collaboration with the Tobago House of Assembly, are in collaboration of trying to come up of preparing a document which will be a national tourism policy on tourism products, on the product development on the island. So,
if I may, sir. All right, what we're dealing with is a failure to inspect, but leaving that aside, I wanted to move on to the customer service level at the hotels and guest houses in Tobago. What is your opinion of it?
Well, the level of customer service, well, when we conduct surveys and so at the research unit, the level of customer service has been poor throughout the island.
Poor?
Poor. Not only in...
And what sort of impact do you think that that has on Tobago as a destination, and what are you doing to improve it?
At the moment, the Division of Tourism has been using the roving caravan for creating awareness on the benefits of tourism and the need for improved customer service in targeted areas. We are now in the process of rolling out an island-wide initiative via electronic media and community to provide buy-in on how tourism impacts on their lives. There is also a small tourism enterprise program that provides training, and they have been providing training in all aspects of tourism in Tobago, and most recently they have rolled out a charter program where they trained taxi drivers and small operators in various aspects of service delivery. As a matter of fact, for the 9 months that they trained the taxi drivers, they have trained them in customer service, how they react, how they interact with the visitors, etc. And they have started a charter, which the program is now towards its end, and we will launch the charter on the 14th of June. And this would inform us as to how we are doing as far as training in tourism industry services are coming along, or how far are we getting into towards improving the situation of the service level delivery.
But customer service should not be under, the Division of Tourism should not be solely responsible for improving customer service. It has to be also, the stakeholders have to provide training as well to their employees. So it has to be a holistic effort. It cannot be on tourism alone.
Mr. De Freitas?
Yes, just wanted to ask one final question. Looking at the submission that you guys gave, I noticed for the Festival of Carnival and Tobago Heritage Festival that the general trend is that international arrivals as well as domestic arrivals has increased from 2011 to 2015. And I'm wondering, in regards to the private sector and some of the events that they have, if you all have any data in regards to such, which is international arrivals as well as domestic arrivals, for events. For example, there's a beach soccer event in November, Bago Sports puts it on, and I know for a fact that they have a lot of teams from all over the world that comes. If you have any data regarding in that month or specifically around that weekend, if we have a bump in international arrivals or domestic arrivals, and if there's any, if you guys are going to work with them in the future, given us a private organization, to sort of increase the size of these events towards increasing international arrivals and domestic arrivals.
Yes, we gather data on a monthly basis, both domestic and international. So we do have the figures.
So is it that just as you have it here for Carnival, July, August 2011 to 2015, would you have that data from, let's say, 2011, 2015, around that time? And do you know, I don't know if you'll have it on you right now, if there's been an increase in international arrivals and domestic arrivals during that event? That's just one of the events. I know there are others.
We track all the events that Tobago has, and yes, we always see a spike whenever there is an event that occurs on the island.
Sure. Just one final question, I guess, coming from here. And finally, I think I have a question most suited for Mr. Henry. Which is, I understood that one of the vessels between Trinidad and Tobago was taken out of commission recently, right? We are coming towards, I would want to believe, a heated period for transportation between the Twin Island. What provisions are being made or have been made? And if they have been made, how is it working so far?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you're right. The TT Spirit is out, and for good reason. It's one of the two vessels on the inter-island ferry, and that vessel needs serious refurbishing. The seats need to be changed, also the carpeting, etc. And they'll be using the opportunity, I think, to do dry docking at the same time. Now, dry docking is required, as you know, because in order to keep their insurance current. The Port Authority has told us, they have indicated, that during the period June 1 to July 1st, the vessel would be out, and as a result, they would be doubling up on the sailings of the other vessel, the TT Express. One, yes. They'll be doubling up. That vessel is supposed to be back on July 1, and we hope that that would happen because you're quite right. July, August is a serious peak period where people travel a lot between the islands. And we really hope that that vessel would be back and in good condition, good working order, in time for the holidays.
But Mr. Henry, can some other additional accommodation be made? Because to have one, to rely on one vessel, should something happen, unfortunately, that there's a breakdown, that will be a chaotic situation in terms of people getting goods and services to be ferried across here. I mean, really.
Yeah, but that is the reality. But if it happens, then I guess the only alternative for the people who decide to travel by sea would be to use the slow cargo boats, which take forever to get to Tobago. And what would normally have to happen, though, there must be some sort of a communication between the Port Authority and Caribbean Airlines, so that Caribbean Airlines can, as far as they can, put on extra flights between the island to accommodate.
Yeah, but that will be taking care of one thing. I mean, those who can afford the airfare, right? But what about the water taxi? I think the last time you spoke about the water taxi being being used?
That is an alternative, but the water taxi was used for a specific period. It was during the Easter holidays when, unfortunately, they had removed one of the vessels just around Easter time. And you know what happens around Easter time, we travel between the islands, so they were forced to put on the water taxi. But during normal times like now, if they remove the water taxi, then I'm sure it would disrupt the travel between San Fernando and Port of Spain of the users of that water taxi.
But at least in San Fernando, you can use the roads to get to and from Port of Spain, right? I don't expect people to swim across from Trinidad to Tobago with their goods. And I'm not being facetious of saying that. I mean, this is a serious concern because this is not a planned dry dock schedule. Is it planned or this is
it is planned? It is planned.
So why proper alternative arrangement haven't been made?
Well, let me say that with all, I'm not trying to defend them, but there's no time, there's never a good time to disrupt the service between Trinidad and Tobago.
No, I appreciate that, but you may have something to put in place that may be appropriate.
Yes. But if it comes to that, I'm sure that they would look at the water taxi as an alternative. Because it has done it in the past. It was done in the past.
But Chair, can I also add that the issue with respect to the dry docking of the fast ferry is not so much the cargo, it's more passengers. There is adequate capacity on the cargo vessels to treat cargo into Tobago. That's with the Warrior Spirit and the Superfast Galaxia. Those two boats, that we refer to as the slow boats, those two boats can take care of the cargo movement between Trinidad and Tobago. So it's really about passengers when you remove the fast ferry.
Okay, thank you for that. Any members, anything?
If I may, I understand that the THA purchased the Manta Lodge and Sanctuary hotels, which are, from what I understand, 2 failed tourism projects. Could you tell me about the cost for that and what your plans are to revive it and make a failed tourism project into a positive tourism project for the country?
You identified it, the Tobago Hotel.
In terms of cost, the THA spent $32 million to purchase both properties. Currently, we are working assiduously to revive the properties. There were a few teething issues. I think we have mostly gone past that, and what we are looking at now is in terms of financing. Now, because at the time that the properties were purchased, there was no financing from central government, but the THA in its wisdom have actually reviewed the financing provided to us, and we have actually made those 2 properties priority projects, and we are now expecting to very soon start the repairs and so forth for those 2 properties.
How much is it going to cost and what do you plan to get out of it?
Currently, there is an estimated cost about $68 million to bring the 2 properties up to operational standard.
And what are you going to benefit from it? How is the country going to benefit from these completed projects?
There is going to be an additional of 80 rooms to the island. And yes, we know that more could be provided, but that is the THA's, one of the THA's initiatives or ways of contributing more rooms to the island. So we expect about 80 rooms would be available, and it would, yes. So,
luxury room, but what standard rooms?
We are hoping that the properties would be managed by, after selecting a suitable brand through regional and international advertisements, and similar to the model of Hyatt and Hilton, so that we would immediately have international brand.
Now, can I ask who principally is undertaking the refurbishment of those properties?
EDCOT.
EDCOT?
EDCOT.
EDCOT?
Yes. There was.
Which means? EDCOT or UDCOT?
ECO, sorry.
EIDCOT means the Eco Industrial Development Company of Tobago.
Okay.
It's a state one of the state-armed companies.
Now, is accommodation being made specifically in refurbishment of those properties so that the differently able persons will be accommodated?
Yes. Well, Brother Chair, I think the answer has to be yes.
You think? I want it to be no.
The answer is yes, because it is one of the requirements of internationally recognized brands.
Okay. But this is encouraging to hear. But, Mr. Sandy and Mr. Henry in particular, and other members, I would like to thank you for presenting yourself before us in Trinidad. We thank you for coming. We were sorry that we had to make the change in schedule, but we can assure you that the next opportunity you are to be with us again, we certainly will be having it in Tobago. At this point in time, we would like to suspend, before I close, if there is anything Mr. Sandy would like to leave with the committee as well as to the listening public on this morning's session, please do so now.
But I just want to thank the Joint Select Committee for having us again and for giving us this opportunity. And for me, it's not just an opportunity to come here and answer some questions. It's an opportunity to also take a look at ourselves and see where we have some deficiency that needs to be remedied. And I can certainly identify a few of those that we need to change, some of the way we have been doing business and so on. So I really want to thank the committee for bringing to the fore some of the issues that perhaps we didn't take a look at before, or perhaps we took a different kind of look at them. So I really want to thank the committee for the input, and certainly the deliberations here would certainly assist us in managing better the resources that are entrusted to the Tobago House of Assembly. And I sincerely want to thank the committee.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, I would like we will take a 5-minute suspension of the proceedings so that the Tobago Tourism and Hotel Association can take your place. You are invited to exchange places and remain for the session that will follow here. So thanks.
Follow the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago on Twitter. Our call sign is @TTParliament.
To 4 Knox Street has been the site of a municipal building since 1899, when this key area around Woodford Square was home to several significant political and religious buildings. The present City Hall is a distinguished example of 1950s architecture, which reflected a move away from traditional colonial styles towards a more modern and functional aesthetic. In 1899, Cocoa Baron and Deputy Mayor Leon Agostini sold the property to the City Council for the sum of $38,000, and from then on it has been used for municipal purposes. Between 1899 and 1907, the Town Hall housed barristers' chambers, club rooms, and governmental department offices. A devastating fire in 1948, however, destroyed the building, and as a result, the administration of Port of Spain was conducted from the Prince's Building, which was at the south of the Savannah. Architects Pryor, Lorenco, and Northnagel were hired to design the new town hall. The architecture of the building came out of the post-World War II modernist movement. Trinidad and Tobago was developing quickly, and independence was in the air. There was a lot of interest in creating architecture that was moving in a new direction, away from traditional modes of building. The architecture of City Hall was adapted for the climate in a style that was called tropical modernism.
If you look at the number of features of the building in terms of common areas and the way that certain areas were naturally ventilated, the way that certain areas don't rely on air conditioning. And also if you look at the plan of City Hall, on the north side of Woodford Square there is a kind of courtyard area that opens out onto the sidewalk. They're buildings that were designed in consideration of the climate. Features were designed in terms of the building envelope, the circulation spaces, and there was a sort of maximization of the natural ventilation potential of the building. And also its relation to the sun at different times of the day, I think were carefully considered in buildings.
Large windows and well-placed breeze blocks allowed the open offices to be filled with light and air. Unlike previous colonial municipal buildings, the new City Hall was an accessible public building that also fit into the surrounding environment without dominating it. Even the auditorium used for various cultural and municipal purposes was designed to be easily accessed by the public from the street. The new building was a move away from architecture that was assertive and authoritarian towards something more encompassing.
But I think it was attempting to be a public building and to fit into the landscape. If you look at the scale of it along Frederick Street and along Woodford, from the elevation on Woodford Square, it's not a dominant building. Its scale is consistent with the buildings around it. And again, if you look at the way that the little courtyard space and the way that the hall opens out onto the sidewalk, these were all gestures that I think were intended to break down that notion or idea that a government building was something separate and represented an authority, but it was part of a much more democratic process and a softening of the line between the private sort of world of the administrative domain, the government society, and the public dimension of society.
In 1958, the foundation stone for the new City Hall was laid by Princess Margaret. Just 3 years later, in 1961, the new building was completed and renamed City Hall. It became the seat of the municipal government for Port of Spain. A mural by acclaimed artist Carlisle Chang, entitled Concorabia, can be found on the ground floor of the building. The name of the piece comes from Port of Spain's original Amerindian name. The 41-foot mural is like a plan of Port of Spain. The Red House, the Old Town Hall, and several key buildings are etched into the concrete. Amerindian motifs are included, as well as images that represent the diverse religions of Port of Spain.
The Carlisle Chan piece in there, I think, is a very interesting feature of the building. And if you look at a lot of buildings from that time, they did integrate works of art. A number of buildings in Port of Spain did that. And I think that this building, works very well in the way that that piece is integrated, and I think we should do a lot more of that.
Port of Spain City Hall is emblematic of a time when colonial institutions were being dismantled in favor of a more open and local approach to governance. Worthy of preservation, the building is a landmark in our modern governmental history.
Follow the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago on Twitter. Our call sign is @TTParliament.
not quite late at lunch. So still, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we are now starting the second session of this hearing, and we would like to welcome the Tobago Hotel and Tourist Association, and thank you for making your presentation, for making your submissions, and we are glad to have you here before us today to be of some assistance to this Joint Select Committee. With that, well, you were here in the public gallery, so I don't think we need to reintroduce ourselves, but we will appreciate you introducing yourself, starting with Mr. James.
I am Caroline Birchwood James, Vice President and a former past President of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association.
I'm Chris James. I'm the present President of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association.
I'm Carlos Dillon, Honorary Director of the Association.
I am Kate Trotman, President of the Tobago Unique Bed and Breakfast and Self-Catering Facilities, which are the small properties under 10 rooms on the island. We are also an associate member of the Hotel Association.
My name is Shirley Cook. My name is Shirley Cook. I am the Secretary to the Board of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association, and also the Vice President of the Business Persons Association in the Crown Point area.
Thank you very much. Mr. James, would you like to have a short, open statement to us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is Ms.
The Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association is thankful for the opportunity to participate in this historical event as we seek to present a holistic picture of our tourism industry in its present incarnation in Tobago. It is believed that the team before you will provide a broad view of the present situation. The Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association is an autonomous body and is not a branch of any chapter in Trinidad, including the Trinidad Hotels, Restaurants and Tourism Association. It represents 95% of the tourism product on the island. There are 10 elected board members representing all sectors of this industry and has a membership of 102 businesses, making the association the largest non-government organization on the island. As an association, we focus on assisting our membership in all areas that affect the operation of their businesses. The intention at this hearing is to advocate for interventions which we believe can bring much needed relief from the downward spiral the sector has experienced since 2007. It is hoped that this hearing would be the beginning of meaningful collaboration that rebounds to the benefit of all, private and public sector, the people of Tobago, the Tobago economy, and the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Chairman, we thank you for the opportunity, and we await you and your committee questions.
Thank you very much. We have the first question coming from Ms. Ramdial.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Hotel and Tourism Association. In your submission, you spoke a lot about the marketing strategies and about recommendations that you would have sent to the THA over the past couple of years, outlining a 3-year plan to encourage foreign direct investment. You want to expound a little bit, because we would have heard from the THA earlier about FDI.
Yes, I'm going to ask Mr. Chris James, our president, to answer your question for you.
Thank you.
Yes, the Chamber of Commerce, previous chairman, and myself and Mr. Neil Wilson came up with a plan, a 3-year plan, to kickstart the industry. Ever since the land license was introduced in February 2007, where we lost 12 projects. 12 projects were halted, stalled there. We have suffered to get investment. And of course, with our occupancy and rate being much lower than the rest of the region, even when we've encouraged investors to come and have a look, they have not been interested because there's no encouragement there. So the document we presented had improved incentives, as the THA said. The incentives we have now from the Tourism Act of 2000 are not comparable, are not competitive with the rest of the region. and we need to improve those. And the idea of the 3-year kickstart was to do something for a short period of time to generate that interest, to get that investment, to give us the level of rooms that we need. We realized that we need 2,500 quality rooms in Tobago to attract year-round sustainable tourism to Tobago. That would give us 5 originating destinations to give us 2 aircraft a week. And that would give us sustainable tourism destination year-round for Tobago, because we would have the Trinidad market as well to fill up our shoulder period. So we could be one of the only countries in the Caribbean that had year-round tourism if we market this correctly. Put our Trinidadian events during the summer periods when we lose our high-end tourists, when we won't get the foreign exchange. So we can really have a year-round tourism destination if we do this, and we do need that kickstart because of the land license. It caused a tremendous distrust and we lost credibility.
So, in your opinion, where are we at in terms of rooms, and how would amending the land license, how would that impact? Would it be a tremendous impact positively on the industry?
Mr. James is going to elaborate on that.
Yes, basically we have, as I said, we have about 1,000 tour operator quality rooms. I just wanted to clarify the situation with the rating system. It is true that there is no international recognized, common international rating system. North America has one system, the European countries have a different system. There are different variations. When I was on CTO board, we actually tried to look at a regional system, but none of the countries could agree on a regional system. So there isn't an international standard system. But what there is the tour operators that use the hotels have to star rate those hotels to sell them. So the list, and it can be done on 2 bases. Increasingly, it's being done on green issues that affect sustainability, green issues. So for instance, just to give you an example, so it's fully understood, with Virgin, it's a bronze, silver and gold leaf. That's what they give you. So that's their rating system, and they will come in and give you that rating system as well as a star rating system that suits their guests. So for instance, in the UK, which the majority of our international guests come from, those tour operators will go to Magdalena, Cocoa Reef, all of the hotels in Tobago where they have tour operator contracts, and they will rate them in a star rating. If they were coming from America, there may be a variation in that rating, but it's not a big deal. That rating is not a big deal. The problem we have at the moment is we don't have enough rooms. So we have roughly 1,000 rooms that are of tour operator quality. Some of them still need renovating. We have some excellent rooms in Tobago, but we still need renovation, and that's why we had the refurbishment program and pushed for different things to happen, because again, it's very difficult. The banks are not cooperative when they look at our rates and look at our occupancy. It's been on a decline for 10 years. So it's not easy to convince the banks. And if we have an additional 1,500, which is in the CEDP plan, to this information, we will then, in our belief, have 5 originating destinations, meaning Europe and UK and Scandinavia, and that limits our risk. At the moment, we had far too much risk on the UK market. When we were busier, 67% of our guests came from the UK. So you're far too dependent. If there was a problem in that country, we would suffer. So the ideal thing is to have 20% risk in 5 countries. And then if things change, we can vary our marketing. If a country has a bad time, we just push our marketing to a different direction and get more people in.
In terms of, you say, the refurbishment, wasn't there a fund set up by the government to deal with assisting your membership in refurbishing your rooms and so forth? Is that still in existence?
Yes.
Maybe don't. Yes, there is a fund. It's not operational for 2 reasons. There's 2 funds. 3 funds, in fact. There's 3 funds. There was a fund, just a rebate fund that the TDC operate. It took us a long time to get that over the water to Tobago. It actually took us 4 years. Even though it was applied in Trinidad, we could not get it into Tobago. The problem we have now is people actually don't have the money. We're doing so badly in terms of occupancy and rate, we don't have the money to do the rebate. So the idea is that you get 25% rebate of up to 60,000 per room. But the hotels just don't have the money to do that one at the moment. The second one was 50 rooms and under, a guarantee by the government. A fund was set up at $250 million.
Central government? Or
Central government. $250 million. But again, when the banks look at the business plan, we have, as I say, we had back in 2005, we had 88,200 international visitors. Last year we had 22,234. They're not keen to bounce. In fact, we just had a recent experience this morning where they're just not keen to do it. So that 50 rooms and under program is not working. And then the other fund, which was part of the Kickstart program suggestion, was 50 rooms and over, or expansion of existing, substantial expansion of existing hotels, was going to be a government guarantee. And that was going to be done through the XM Bank as well. So that was going to be a guarantee that was coming in, an investor would come in and the government would guarantee the project financing, up to 51%, I believe it was. So that never materialized. That was stalled completely at the Ministry of Finance.
Oh. Wow. The last one you just identified there, you said that was stillborn?
It was stillborn, yeah. That was basically the reason it came out of the private sector, because that request came out of the private sector, the previous administration. Because of the damage we saw that the land license had done, because all these projects were stalled and all the confidence had gone, we needed something to rebuild that confidence. So we thought the guarantee, for a period, again, we were asking for not an indefinite thing, we were asking for a period just to get 1 or 2 hotels started. We thought the guarantee would help. In fact, that's the advice we got from the different investors. If there was a guarantee, they would have come in. Our belief was if we could have got 2 or 3 hotels started, we would have started the ball rolling and we could have interested people to say, oh, things are happening in Tobago now, let's get moving. But at the moment it's just stagnant. We've had no movement of foreign direct investment into Tobago.
But tell me something. In terms of the land license issue, is it that the investor must be able to own the property, or you can have a lease or something like that? If you are leasing, would the land license require to also get a license, or you can come in with somebody? You must be a owner of the property?
From what we know is that there's a history behind the land license, or there's a philosophy behind the land license. The land license was to more or less regulate how foreigners buy land in Tobago. There was a regulation, but they weren't following it. Okay? So there was an amendment in 2007 where if you wanted to buy land in Tobago, whether for commercial or private, you had to obtain a land license. It didn't occur, you didn't have to do it for Trinidad, but definitely for Tobago. And what happened, so questions like lease and so on didn't seem to arise, because if you know the land history of Tobago, most of the land is freehold land. Mm-hmm. So it's not leased like it's common in Trinidad. Okay.
No, and from a freehold you can get a leasehold. Eh?
Well, I'm sure, but that was not factored into the land license. So we had that land license passed in 2007. It took about 3 years for the process to be organized, meaning that you could not apply for a land license if you were a foreigner until 2010.
October.
Yes, and what we do know is that about 10 licenses have been issued up to today, around approximately 10. But we can tell you that a lot of damage was done to the Tobago economy, the Tobago hotel industry from that license. Why? What was the message sent? 1, we don't want foreigners to invest. 2, we don't want foreigners at all. So that has been part of the reason why we don't have any foreign direct investment at this time, as well as we have a problem with our arrival numbers.
But Ms. James, with greatest respect, right? The question I ask is the impact it has. I mean, do you must be an owner?
No, let me answer that question. It's not so much having to be an owner. If a 5-star 200-bedroom hotel can cost anywhere between 150 and 200 million US dollars to put down, there's going to be no vagaries over any investor that wants to put that property down. They're going to want complete ownership of that land and property.
If I don't want to engage in a real property tutorial here, right, or such, right? But you have 99 years leaseholds in property, in many properties. So if you, it's just as good as a as a freehold. I think Mr. Alwari wants to add something.
Mr. Chairman, I'm compelled to enter
again.
Again, the laws of Trinidad and Tobago have to be factored in context. There is a system of regulation for property ownership, and there's a system of registration. Historically, Tobago has had two significant issues hit it. One, the state of titling in Tobago is in nothing short of a glorious mess.
Yes.
The ability to obtain a root of title in Tobago is often a very difficult task. Separate and apart from that, you have the issue, which was at one point a very dominant issue, which was the complaint by Tobagonians that they were being left landless because foreign investors were coming in and taking too fast an acquisition of Tobago property. The system of licensing happens in two ways. There's a positive license or a negative license. Under the foreign investors' provisions which prevail in the rest of Trinidad, you apply to the Ministry of Finance for a license, and once you've satisfied the application, not the approval, then you're fine. That's for ownership of shares in companies and for lands of certain sizes. In the Tobago experience, what happened was a positive licensing approach was adopted, which was that you had to have a license in hand to then acquire. But when you put that into the background of the Tobago titling issue, and then the operationalization of a system, there clearly was an impact and problem in having the speed with which things go achieve muster. However, I've understood the team to be speaking to another factor as well. Licensing may be point one, because a central government could easily intervene, as it is right now, in ensuring that a $200 million investment is fast-tracked. Licenses happen as they're supposed to happen, as it's now happening. However, the appetite by bankers spread across that particular table between large, medium, and small doesn't only hinge upon your security. When we've been talking about land, it's with respect to securitizing the loan to put down a hotel. A guarantee is a form of security which would appease a bank. If the loan goes wrong, I have something to hold on, which is the guarantee or the land. That's one issue. The appetite also depends upon the ratios. Your business plan to allow you to pay your installments, because banks are not in the business of selling land or acquiring land through failures of projects. So the ratios of profitability of businesses obviously is an impact. And what I'm aware of is that the TDC division had a problem in how it rolled out the benefits by way of support in Trinidad versus Tobago. Because it was centralized in Trinidad, there was a problem in effecting the supervision and efficiency in Tobago. That has now been disaggregated so that Tobago can be facilitated by the THA, which is familiar with the ground, and can allow for that investment to hit where it's supposed to hit, as opposed to having it done in Trinidad, which had no understanding of how Tobago worked. So the point was needing to recraft the system to get it to be efficient. The laws are there and they can work. The question is the efficiency of the law. So an administrative restructuring had to happen, and I'm pleased to say that that has recently happened.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. I'm sure our panel here quite will be heartened by that. Yes?
Yes, I'm sure Yes, I think Mr. Alwari was talking about the room upgrade program. Yes, that started in Trinidad in 2009, and up to today, Tobago has not been able to benefit from it, and we understand that a cabinet note was recently passed, so it's now in operation in Tobago.
Thank you. Mr. Ramlia.
Thank you very much. In your submission, you mentioned that Tobago has never really had any consistent destination marketing, and this would have contributed to the decline in tourist arrivals to the island. Can you tell us from your perspective as the association as to how we can go about trying to increase visitors to the island with respect to a marketing strategy?
Yes, I'm going to agree with your statement here. That's part of the problem. We have not had consistent marketing events occurring as far as Tobago is concerned. But we'll allow Mr. Carlos Dillon, a veteran hotelier, to elaborate on that.
Yes, ma'am. The marketing of a destination is a very important and exacting thing. What has happened to Trinidad and Tobago is that the government would put aside some money for marketing the destination, but then the timing of this of the funding has been a problem, because you have to wait on the budget and you don't know whether you get the amount that you have put aside or you say that you would need for marketing. And by the time you get that money, it is too late. In other words, let's take an example. If you have to do marketing for your winter season at this, now it's June, it is too late. You must know that you have to do your marketing way up front so that the gestation period would be in place. At one stage in 2003, when we had the problem, when our occupancy went down to 17%, we pleaded with the government and they put aside a rolling fund where you could have drawn down on the amount as you see fit, because you know exactly what you want and when you need to put the money in place, so that you're in the foreign marketplace, so that you would get the best results. And that amount moved our occupancy from 17% to about 60%, because it worked. You had the money rolling over.
Okay, let me just jump in very quickly, because I think Kay wants to say something. Two things, yes. We have never, agreeing with the THA earlier, we have never put enough money, Trinidad and Tobago has never put enough money into marketing the destination. We don't get anywhere close to the other regional destinations for marketing the destination. We are still unknown. Trinidad and Tobago is still unknown. When we go to World Travel Market, ITB, we know that the others are doing a better job than us. So we have suggested many things in the past. I just want to reiterate, because it's the time to do it. We're in Parliament. We have suggested, as other islands have done, the 10% room tax that we collect on behalf of the government. Other destinations put a portion of that percentage room tax into a marketing fund for their tourism authority to have consistent marketing. Just to emphasize what Carlos was saying, we have to have 12 months ahead of time the marketing funds we need for the following year, because everything changes. It's very dynamic. This industry is very dynamic, and our presence has to be felt very early. So our solution was we could do what others had done. We'd have two tourism authorities, one Tobago, one Trinidad, and we would use that money, that room tax money, a percentage of that room tax money. We now understand the challenges the other islands had, and we now understand why it couldn't be done here. That 10% goes into the consolidated fund, and the other islands have separated a percentage of that fund. So that is our suggestion to the solution of this. We would then have marketing ahead of time. As the tourism industry grows, that money will become greater to increase our competitiveness.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to say and agree with the Tobago House of Assembly, our marketing funds are totally inadequate. If we look at the figures that we are using, the Tobago House of Assembly, from what research that we have done, they have about $30 million for marketing Tobago, TT dollars. The TDC markets Trinidad and Tobago, and they have another 40 million TT dollars. When we did our research, and people are keeping their figures sort of secret, but from what we can get, in 2014, Barbados added 50 million US dollars added to their marketing budget. So obviously, our marketing budget is wholly inadequate. Our research shows that we need to start with about 300 million TT dollars to start marketing. Remember, this is a twin island destination, Trinidad and Tobago, and you're talking about Tobago. So we are wholly inadequate concerning the market. So you need to have an increased marketing budget. Other than that, we are not showing that we are serious about tourism. Remember, we are looking for foreign exchange. We are export earner as hoteliers, which we all are here. And therefore, you have to spend the money to market. Everybody asks, where is Trinidad and Tobago on CNN, BBC, all the magazines? But that's the reason why. If we are spending 80 million, and that's a figure on the upward end, if we are spending 80 million on marketing, and we hear that Barbados has added 50 million US to their budget, then, there's no comparison. So we must show that we are serious about the tourism, especially in this time. This is a time we need to up the ante, and we must increase that marketing budget. Ms. Trotman here just wants to say something concerning that room upgrade that Mr. Alwari mentioned.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Ms. James. While we go back to that room upgrade, and I want to just make a pin for what Ms. James said, marketing cannot happen absent of room upgrade or the plant being improved. So both would have to happen at the same time. And I would think that this 2-year period, 2016 to 2018, is a very critical time where we have to actually stop, hold the position that we will be doing room upgrades, and we will be doing certain marketing, and we will be addressing the land license in order by the end of 2018, you would see the kind of momentum to go forward. But this is a critical point at which we have to do something. So going back to what Member Alwari was saying, for the smaller properties especially, and given that whole land license, the land tenure issue in Tobago, it becomes very disheartening for small properties because they are not in a position to do any bit of upgrade. And if you are at an administrative level, making that one of the eligibility criteria to access the fund, there is no way then that you can help develop your smaller properties. So that you may have a lot of Tobago properties, and if we understand what the small properties are, 10 room and under, these are extensions of your homes, extensions of places that may have been handed down to you from grandparents. You are currently in process of either RPO or administration that takes a long period. But at the same time, you have the business prowess and the entrepreneurship spirit embedded in you that you are taking the chance, but the environment does not allow you to go beyond a certain level, and therefore it challenges a particular niche in the Tobago market, that small property experience, that homestay type feel, that indigenous food experience that we all go for. We cannot fully develop that sector because the enabling environment doesn't allow. So while the larger properties have their own challenge with the land license, the smaller properties have their own challenge with how do we access appropriate financing in order to do the level of expansion. So it calls for a level of collaboration and discussion that goes beyond just THA meeting with central government to iron out certain things. The discussion needs to be the private sector and all the players in the private sector with the THA and the central government to come up with the solutions. And I would dare say through many of the reports that we would have done, there are inklings of solutions there. What we need to now discuss is, are these things workable now, or how can they be tweaked to work in the time period that we find ourselves in? And with the 2-year, I would say, critical turning point that we have, if we have to go ahead and make the industry survive.
Thank you for that.
Ms. Cook,
what impact would you say there's a concern that the THA takes up about 75% of the working population, and the private, certainly your sector of employees? How significant or severe is that situation?
At least from the small, I will tell you from the small properties, it has been a real challenge in the sense that how can I compete with a government CPEP program or DUDE program or URP program that pays $80 for a half-day work, and then you have to come to a hotel or the small property environment to give a full day's work at probably $120 an hour. There's no comparison. And so that it has created an environment that people can work at less challenging jobs for relatively more money than the sector would need. So we are the government, I would say, let me put it the other way around. The public sector is competing with the private sector for the valuable human resource that we need. So unless we can come up, if the public sector wants to still be involved and to find a way to transition out of it, we'd have to find a way where public sector releases some of those persons, whether to a half and half program, they pay half of the salary, we pay half of the salary of these people, and get them out of the public sector into private sector, especially during peak periods. I think Mr. James, because I know this was a project, a pet project to his heart, can elaborate on that one a little bit.
Yeah, what it is that some of the islands have done this, and it applied to islands that had a bad turn, like we have, with a low occupancy. It's very difficult for us to compete with wages with the public sector. But what they've done in some of the destinations, they've set a bar of occupancy. Usually 60% is the occupancy you look for in a hotel to start making money. Once you go past the 60% mark, you start making money. So what they do, they pay half the salary, like an OJT type program. They pay half the salary until you reach 60%. And that would ease people out of the public sector dependency jobs into a more equalized, and we could train during that period. St. Kitts have done a fantastic program like this, which helped them. So there's a program we can do that's very similar to that, and it's right across the board. I mean, it's not just hotels, restaurants, it's the banks. Everybody's had trouble. The shops have got signs forever, and if you go to any shop in Tobago, you'll see. I think
Ms.
Shirley Cook.
Ms. Cook would like to say something?
Well, I
Chairman?
agree, yes. I do agree with everything that is said here with my colleagues. But I want to address briefly the marketing issue with respect to, yes, I agree we need more funding. That's no question. However, when we look at the two areas where the Tobago House of Assembly has marketed Tobago, and we actually had those airlines pull out or canceled, and they spend money marketing those areas, which is the Apollo flight and the Gold flight. Those are monies that was expended marketing destination Tobago, but yet we noticed those airlines failed. They actually pull out. We need to find out why that is so, and there are many times that this organization had actually asked for participation on the Airlift committee. We need to know the areas in which the government, THA, is actually going to market Tobago. We need to have an input, because even though they spend those marketing dollars in areas, it ends up that usually those airlines pull out of the destination. And increasing all those, the marketing budget will fail us if we don't look at the markets that we are seeking to bring visitors to Tobago.
Chairman, I just want to elaborate on what Ms. Cook had to say concerning the Airlift committee. This is an Airlift committee that is supposed to be in Tobago, under the Tobago House of Assembly. In years gone by, the private sector had two members, one from the Chamber and one from the Tobago Hotel and Tourism. In the last 5 years, that has not been so. And what we want is to go back to the original idea of having this Airlift committee and having private sector sitting on the committee. And this is one of the recommendations that we are going to be asking for. We need to know, we need to make an input, we need to know what's going on, what are airlines you're talking to, and we need to make an input in the coming of these airlines as well.
We hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Ramdia.
Yeah. With respect to the labor shortage that you experience on the island, and the fight with public sector versus private sector, in Trinidad here we have had thousands of job losses in recent time. Would you be open to having Trinidadians come across and work in the hotel and tourism sector?
Yes, of course.
There is a challenge.
So
There is a challenge with it, though. Let me just interrupt quickly because this is a burning topic. There is a cost in housing these people when they come over, additional cost, at a time when we can least afford it. So if there's, we have talked about putting kind of starter home accommodation in Tobago so we could actually do this kind of thing, but there is a cost, and other islands have had a challenge. So, and we do have Trinidadians that work, they come over. In fact, one of the things we wanted to do with the hotel school was to have it as the last year finishing school for the Hotel Association, for the hotel school in Trinidad, so they would get leisure experience, which they don't get so much of in Trinidad, and then we would have workers there. But of course we don't have any dormitory accommodation at the hotel school either. But sorry, Karen.
Chris wanted to get his point across. Yes, but we do welcome people from Trinidad to come across, because we as Tobagonians, we find work in Trinidad and jobs in Trinidad as well, and we have to find our own accommodation. So we welcome them who are interested in the tourism industry and they're willing to work, especially those who have got training and so on, and we welcome them. They can contact our association if they need jobs and if they are qualified and positioned to have jobs in the industry.
Thank you.
Mr. Solomon.
Through the chair. I was wondering what your views were on the way that the THA has been marketing. There seems to be an emphasis on festivals and the like. Spending $65 million on the Tobago Jazz Festival, which I think amounted to a shortfall of $48 million. And then the Heritage Festival, which I believe is another $12 million. It seems a lot of money being spent on these festivals, and I just wondered what your opinion was. Is this money being well spent? Do you see do you see the benefit in it, long term, short term?
Thank you, Mr. Solomon, for your question, and I think all of us are going to have a little to say a little bit about it. I can start off by saying that yes, like the jazz, some of the festivals, we welcome them, but it's how you advertise. For the Jazz Festival, I'm going to say that we need to be there at the beginning. You have a committee, and who selects who are the celebrities, entertainers. We are not at that level. We want to be at that level for the start, to say who are the entertainers coming, okay? Because when you had the Plymouth Jazz Festival, as the THA alluded to, listen, in January, I was president at that time. In January of those years, all our hotels were filled. All our hotels were filled. The one or two we would send out an email, 2 or 3 would say, well, look, we still have a few rooms. At the end of January, all the hotels were filled. And remember, the festival is in April. So it's who you bring, how you bring them. And not only that, you have to advertise a year in advance. It means that now we are in June, we are in the 3rd of June, we should already have an idea of who the entertainers are, and we should already be advertising, because people have to make arrangements to want to come. So they have a year, and remember, we should be talking about Jazz 2018 at this point in time, not even 17. 18 is what we should be talking about, and 19. Not 17. All arrangements should have been made for 17. We should have been able to tell you, Mr. Chairman, and your committee, who is coming for 17 in case you would like to come, and so on. And all those abroad, there are a lot of people abroad who are listening as well. So that we need to advertise earlier. We need to make a long distance, or what should we say, a long time frame. We have to do like the Europeans, okay? They do 3-4 years in advance. We need to adopt the same thing. We need to target our marketing and so on, and we need to have the good entertainers who will attract, who we will attract, and our hotels will be filled like how we had the Plymouth Jazz Festival. Mr. James, you want to say your part?
Yes, I do, very quickly, because I know time's running out. Couple of things. Yes, we had an oversight committee for the Jazz Festival, but before we actually got to a conclusion, it was disbanded. And this is one of the challenges we've had with the stakeholders meetings in Tobago as well. We've made a lot of decisions. We had Heritage Trail things set up. We had beautifying of Scarborough. We went through a whole branding process with overseas branding agents, which came down. We spent days, I think it was 5 days, 8 hours a day going through this, the private sector involved with THA, only to find that the brand that we chose was not chosen in the end. So there is some attempt at working with the private sector, but it's not followed through enough. It's disheartening because we hate the brand we have now, the logo we have now. None of the private sector like it. So we have gone that extra mile in all our efforts to get these things done. As Caroline said, we do want to, at the very latest we should be marketing Jazz at World Travel Market in November, because the foreigners book their holidays. If you come to most of the festivals, you'll find that it's mainly Trinidadian, mainly Tobagonians. We get very few international guests coming because of the late advertising. So, and that applies to all the festivals. So to get the foreign exchange that I know the government wants us to get, we need to do ahead planning. We can do this. Tourism can be a great asset to this country. It is the fastest growing industry in the world. It's the largest employer in the world. We can play our part in Tobago, and Trinidad can play its part in generating this foreign exchange that is needed and foreign direct investment that is needed. And we just want the opportunity.
How would you define the relationship between the THA and your organization?
Well, I would say we have a good relationship, it's a friendly relationship, and so on. There's no antagonism. We're all in the business of tourism. But here's what. They need, when they make their decisions without us. For example, I listened to member Mr. Alwari talk about the marinas, but where is the private sector in this discussion? There are private sector people who own property, who own seaside property, or who own property surrounded by water. Where is the discussion with the private sector? We have an input. As far as we know, the state is to facilitate. We are to do the work. And therefore, it means that we must be part of the discussion wherever it is, whether it is jazz and entertainers coming, whether it is the marina, whether it is your marketing, your destination marketing, whatever it is, we have to be part of the equation. And I think that is the element that is missed. So when you call us to speak, or you call us to be part, you have already made a lot of the critical decisions, and we are just following instructions and obeying orders.
Okay, sorry.
If I were to add one, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, just before we run too far ahead, I wish to fully endorse the comments just made and to clarify, lest you run away with the wrong impression. Now, there's a disadvantage in that I don't sit on your end of the table, so I can't get to expatiate on all of the things that I would like to. But your comments are so spot on and so useful that allow me just to address it this way. The process of decision making starts with something coming to a cabinet for a policy position. That policy then becomes an actionable item by certain entities. And in the course of actioning, for instance, the private sector becomes involved. The RFPs go out to private sector to say this is an approved policy, it would like to be performed. The view is either a public-private partnership arrangement or a government-backed guarantee, etc. So please don't run away with the point that it's a fait accompli. What I said is that the matter is before the government's consideration now, and that it has not been dealt with previously, and let me make it clear, by successive governments. The second point is that I'm aware that the THA is certainly not the only entity involved in marketing. Let's make it clear. It's the TDC and the THA, where the spending is, if I could put it this way, has been for Trinidad and Tobago traditionally what we call nickel and dime spending, expecting big results. So let's call a spade a spade. I'm aware that the Minister of Tourism is under the supervision, by way of assistance, of a prime ministerial appointed committee to deal with the improvements to the marketing arrangements for Trinidad and Tobago in a fashion that has not been the previous fashion. Permit me to be a little nebulous because Cabinet's approval for this hasn't yet happened, but suffice it to say that the positions made so clear by no less an entity than private sector entities that drive the economy and are required to drive the economy as one of the main contributors have been heard, and the obligation of the government is to enable, and that enabling will be done with consultation and participation of the private sector, but that there will be a process to get there, and that process must be efficient. So permit me that small intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Wari. Yes.
I wanted to make one comment too. You asked about one word to describe the relationship. And I would say that one word is not just the relationship between private sector and the THA, but all the relevant tourism organization, the TDC, the Ministry of Tourism. I would like to say it is dysfunctional. While we do have a relationship, we do respond to their questions and to concerns and to working together, it is still dysfunctional because at the end of the day, it doesn't achieve what the public authorities want, nor what private sector would desire to see happen. We would think that at the level of private sector on the ground, we will experience the day-to-day drama and therefore be able to work out what may be necessary to go forward. We then take that to the THA. We do not expect solutions from the THA on all issues, but what we expect, the issues that they can solve, let us sit and solve it. The issues that they cannot address, we expect them to fashion with us the format that is necessary to take it the level up. And then that lobbying would deal with whatever issues on the national scale it needs to do. But I think we are stuck at that initial level. The relationship and the flow, private sector to the THA initially gets stuck somewhere because there may be the impression that we think the THA can solve everything. They cannot solve everything. But we expect them to champion the cause of private sector. And we are there to support them because it's what we brought to them that would that needs to be looked at to make the industry function better. So it's not that we're putting things in their hands and leave them to fight the case. We will be there backing them, but we think when we take things to them, they need to fashion it in the format that is necessary to go up the ladder if it is not something they can address. Thank you.
There's a question. You all have been here this morning, and you all have participated when we were in Tobago. And the focus of the THA in terms of marketing for the tourism expansion of the rooms and so forth, it seems to be focused on the luxury aspect of it. Is it in line with you all, or you all are at a different level, a different end? You all are the middle and lower end, or you all are the same, we're into the same trajectory as a luxury type?
Mr. Chairman, what we actually need, as other islands do, we need the full range of product. What we don't have is the 4 and 5 star, the top end 4-star and 5-star. We have a couple of 4 stars. And we also need a couples hotel. We need a children-friendly hotel. There's a whole range, a differently abled hotel, which we promise we will make happen. So yes, we have to have that range, and we have to have that number to get the economies of scale. There's just two things that we didn't discuss, and the reason the market has changed. Airlines now, I heard you ask the question about direct airlift. It's not direct, it's non-stop.
That's right.
We don't have non-stop airlines. And therefore we are competing. This is why our destination marketing money is so important. We don't have, all our flights are shared. So the islands we share with are St. Lucia, Barbados, Antigua, who all market more than us. Therefore we get a smaller proportion of those flights. And to get this whole thing working, we need the full range of product that allows airlines to come, because their economies of scale have changed in the last 10 years with crew costs and things, so that we get at least 2 aircraft from each originating destination, because they have to switch crews and all this. It's very costly for them. So we need 2 aircraft a week to come to Tobago from the UK, from Scandinavia, from Germany, Canada, America. And then we have a product of 2,500 rooms, the full range of product. Because you've got to imagine, when you're actually looking at a brochure in a very cold climate, like I used to live, you're looking at things that tick the boxes for you, which might be different to you and to you. going back to your comment, because my phone has not stopped ringing since you made it, it's not that Tobago was the fastest growing destination, it was this region was the fastest growing destination in the world. This is the most tourism dependent region in the world, the Caribbean. It grew by over 7% last year, just a fraction over 7% last year, when the world average was only 4.2%. The rates that you quoted earlier were correct. We are the fastest growing tourism destination in the world. 28.7 million people came to this region. 28.7. They spent over $30 billion in this region. That's what they spent. That's not the investment they brought in. So this is a really worthwhile industry to be part of. And if we can just we get 2 or 3% of that. Trinidad and Tobago gets 2 or 3%. I think it may be a maximum of 4% of that regional tourism. We only get that tiny fraction. And if with the oil and gas price the way it is and the problems that we have, there's no reason we couldn't have had both years ago. But let's now focus on getting tourism, getting a bigger share. Let's aim for 5, 6, 7% of the tourism share. And let's get some real money coming in and give people careers in the tourism industry so they can work up. Another reason for having a choice of hotels is they work up. They start in a 2-star, work to a 3, 4 and 5. At the moment, they all leave Tobago. They all go to London or somewhere to get high. I'm told to shut up.
Just a quick question before we close. If there's a priority in terms of the resources to be deployed right now in improving the product in Tobago, would it be the emphasis should be placed on improving the airport first or the stock of rooms?
Everything together. We need everything.
Both. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Cook, you would like to answer that quickly for the chairman?
Well, we need both. It's so critical in Tobago.
But if you have to give, which one do you think will be the more? I mean, because I did hear one of you all saying this morning that Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Airline pulled out because of the inadequacy of the airport terminal and some other airlines. They said those were the main reasons. Now that you still have a stock of hotels that are not being filled right now to over 60% capacity all the time. So would it not stand to reason that the airport probably may be the project that needs to be emphasized on in terms of money is being concerned right now?
Well, yes, we will agree with you here in that our airport, there's no first-class lounge. That's the first thing, you know. And if you have like 2 flights coming in, you are immigration is processing people on the tarmac.
Yeah, no fingers neither.
Right, that is correct. You understand me? So that we would say the airport, but Ms. Cook wants to elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, yes. I mean, we'll say the airport is the first thing the visitors see. That's a welcoming sign to the destination. So we'll say the airport, but at the same time, there's so many things that need to be fixed that it has to be a multifaceted approach to fixing Tobago's tourism. I need to say this though. All the monies that we spend on marketing, on Airlift, on bringing people to Destination Tobago, we need to look at the internal challenges we have in Tobago on the island. There are several things that need to fix. There is a lack of confidence among the people in Tobago in this product. Even though I heard the Division of Tourism speak about a roving caravan and all that, there is a lack of education on the benefits of tourism, and also that feeds into the reason why customer service is so poor on the island. Everything has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed now. We cannot no longer sit back and have these discussions. There were several reports. There were several discussions that have been had over the years, and it is time now that we no longer sit and discuss these things, but try and implement them.
Carlos, you want to say something? Mr. Dillon would like to say a little. I know, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a bit of a peeve for me because I always mention it at the end of every meeting like this. Because in 1995, the ARA consultants did a document which was...
Will you want to tell us the meaning of that acronym?
A tourism plan for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, who is the ARA?
And that's the name of a Canadian company.
It was a consultancy.
A consultancy company. They spent about 2 years doing this plan. The plan was eventually accepted by the then Mr. Manning's cabinet. today, as we speak here, some of that plan, the Tobago part of it has not been touched, relatively speaking. The Trinidad part of it is being worked right now. Like, for instance, the development of Chagaramas, the development of this area here, the development of Maracas, the whole question of the local tourism, like the people up in somewhere around Toko, the turtle watching and so on and so on. So so if you step back a bit and just go look at that 2020 vision, the tourism subcommittee, the 2020 vision, took most of its work out of that ARA document. Everything is there. There's nothing missing except to tweak it, as one of my colleagues said before. Just look at it, tweak it, and so that we will not be reinventing the wheel.
Mr. Dillon, do you have a copy for us?
Excuse me?
Do you have a copy for us?
I know.
It's 500 pages.
It's 500 pages.
We're a very poor organisation.
No, but if you look at the 2020 Vision Subcommittee on Tourism, there's 154 pages.
Mr. Chairman, we will.
You have a copy.
We'll get a copy to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
We'll appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, let me, at this point in time, thank you. Bring this session to a closure. I mean, it has been very engaging. I'm sure all the members here and the listening public have been enlightened by a number of issues raised by you all. The fact that it was only raised as issues, but there were some suggestions of remedies to address the situation, which is very appreciative. And we certainly will be taking those comments on board when we sit to deliberate and make our final report. So on behalf of my committee, I would like to thank you for coming. I would like to also thank members of the media. I would like to thank the viewing public, in particular those in Tobago, who I'm sure are probably fixed to their screens following this intently. And we look forward to further engagements again on the next occasion. So on behalf of myself and my members, thank you very much. Good afternoon.
And
so I declare this session adjourned.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And it was a pleasure being here.